want to call on our keynote speaker, Dr. Georgina Ingere Nwaha. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The representative of the Executive Governor of Bayelsa State, His Royal Majesty, King Alfred Yeteswif and his lovely wife, the chairperson of IDC, very distinguished members of the high table, and equally distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We are going to deviate a little bit away from what we've been discussing. I'm not going to talk about investment or even about Bayelsa State per se. I've been asked to speak on the role of women's initiative and power to create change in their lives and communities. By way of introduction, I wish to inform you that our country, Nigeria, has been facing a myriad of challenges in recent times. In fact, the country is in dire straits in almost all sectors. To state that there is a high incidence of insecurity in the country is now an understatement, as one is daily assailed by news of brutal killings, kidnappings of innocent children by bandits, unknown gunmen, and terrorists. Nowhere is now considered safe in our country, and one is at risk of falling victim to terrorist attack while traveling on the road, or in the train, while even in your home, or working on your farm, or even in church of recent. Even our airports are no longer considered safe, and there have been frequent attacks on schools in some parts of the country, with some students taken captive and some still in captivity. Unfortunately, the travails of our country go beyond security challenges, as the economy is in great distress, and inflation rate in the country is soaring higher every day. Nigerians have had to cope with incessant and prolonged power outages, with the national grid collapsing frequently. This has had negative impact on all sectors of the economy and on the health of the citizens. It has also impacted negatively on the productivity of industries and small-scale entrepreneurs who depend on power for their activities. As if these challenges are not enough, the country this year also is grappling with an acute fuel scarcity, an astronomical increase in the cost of fuel, despite spending trillions of naira on fuel subsidy. The value of our currency has also been greatly devalued and has resulted in galloping inflation with steep increase in the cost of transportation, food items, building materials, and general cost of living. The cost of food items, cooking gas, kerosene, etc. has risen astronomically and beyond the reach of the ordinary people. The plight of the low-income earners on a minimum wage who can no longer afford to feed their families is better imagined, and this has further fueled the state of insecurity in the country, as well as worsening the poverty level and suffering of ordinary citizens. I could go on, but suffice it to say that our country, Nigeria, is at a crossroads and urgently needs to recover from sliding further into anarchy and chaos. Meanwhile, our leaders and politicians, unfortunately, seem oblivious of the pain and suffering of the people, as long as they are comfortable and enjoying their hefty remunerations. It was not surprising, therefore, that the revered Reverend Bishop Kuka, in his Easter Vigil, addressed this year's address this year, pronounced that our country, Nigeria, is broken. Its security, he said, is broken. Its schools are broken. Its power is broken. Its economy is broken. Its infrastructure is broken. And even the youths who display such low moral values are also broken. Many social maladies have bedeviled our country, and there are persistent calls for the country to urgently have a change of direction and pull itself back from the brink of disaster. We, the people of Nigeria, need a change of mindset and value reorientation, not only in our leaders, but also in the citizens, and such a mindset should start from the grassroots, from the homes. And that is where the women come in. To bring about the change we desire in our country, we need purposeful leaders who will be selfless and committed to improving the welfare of the general populace, and not to continue catering for only an elite class. We need leaders who can harness the resources of the nation for the common good and put an end to the prevailing corrupt practices, mismanagement of resources, and get-rich-quick syndrome. We need leaders who can enthrone justice and fairness, and who can first focus more on issues of safety, security, and the welfare of the ordinary citizens. We need a reorientation of our youth to abhor violence, banditry, and crime. Above all, we need parents who will raise their children to be good citizens of our country and who will contribute towards its development. This is because all the miscreants in the society come from families, and the family is the bedrock of any society. In fact, discipline, productivity, a sound character, responsibility are all traits one learns from the home, and most of the deviant people in the society today derail because of lack of proper monitoring and training at the home level. Women, as members of the society, must share in the blame for our broken society. However, they can only be motivated to be change agents to bring about a new direction in our society. This is because women, as mothers and wives, play a nurturing role in the family and can bring about a positive change in the behavior and welfare of their children. Women are the backbone of their families, and they spend more time and are closer to their children. It stands to reason, therefore, that they could play a critical role in the raising of their children by inculcating in them high moral values and a peaceful disposition, a respect for human life, an abhorrence for violence, selfishness, and greed. If they took the time to provide their children with guidance and instruction, women are more mature, women are by nature industrious and productive, and they could inculcate in their children their natural gift of empathy and caring for others, being thrifty, and the ability to multiply resources by occupying their children with meaningful, productive activities that will add value to their lives. Women are by nature good managers of resources, and they have the ability to make do with little and to manage whatever resources they have for the benefit of the families. If those in charge of our resources, if those in charge of our economy could adopt the natural ability of women to manage resources effectively, perhaps they could manage our national resources more prudently without resorting to excessive borrowing. All the leaders who have inflicted bad leadership on our country today and mismanaged our country's resources were raised by mothers who perhaps failed to inculcate in them their skills of prudent management of resources. Also, in recent times, we have been frequent reports of senseless killings by unknown gunmen and kidnapping by terrorists and domestic violence by spouses, some of which have led to the death of the victims. One would like to know how these young men who are inflicting such pain and suffering on the society through their violent activities were raised. Women are the first teachers of their children, and their natural role is to nurture, mentor, and mold the character of their children. Women could guide and raise their children to be responsible members of the society by providing both love and discipline for their children in an authoritative manner. The increasing incidence of violence, ritual murders, and senseless killings, especially by youths, need to be urgently addressed, and women have a vital role to play here, because a man's character is shaped primarily during his childhood. Unfortunately, however, the women themselves can only teach their children what they know, and our women folk are often not empowered to provide the much needed upbringing and guidance for their children in the home. Mothers these days rather preoccupy themselves with other activities such as the quest for wealth, while overlooking their vital role as the first teachers of their children. Discipline is also abandoned, and children often do not receive the guidance and character formation they require from the home. Incidentally, children are not good listeners, but they are good imitators. And when their parents are not available, they could be easily influenced by peers. Even more disturbing is the increasing tendency for parents to relegate the proper upbringing of their children to the schools or church. But unfortunately, these institutions are not equipped to inculcate moral values. Women, however, are not entirely to be blamed, as they themselves are often struggling to overcome some challenges that inhibit them from playing their roles effectively, such as poor access to quality education, discriminatory practices, harmful traditional practices, and their low socioeconomic status. I would just like to briefly examine a few of these challenges women themselves are grappling with. Anybody observing our Nigerian society today would tend to conclude that the status of women has greatly improved, and that gone are the days when they were discriminated against. Yes, I agree that women have made great strides in our community and are now participating in various aspects of our society. The result is that we now have educated women participating in various professions, both in the private and public sector. And several women have made remarkable contributions to our national development. Of course, we know, all of us know many of them, but just to mention a few, we have people like the late Professor Dora Akunyele, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Dr. Obiose Ekwesili, Mrs. Amina Mohammed, Professor Grace Alele Williams, Dr. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, just to mention a few. However, I must hasten to add that it's not yet quite all rosy for the women folk, as the majority of them still contend with a number of challenges in their efforts to realize their full potentials. For a start, the girl child is still denied access to education in some parts of Nigeria, with the result that there are thousands of children, mostly girls, who have never attended school in our country. And even when some of these girls are lucky to attend school, they are not allowed to go beyond the primary or secondary level before they are married off. Recently, the Executive Secretary of the Universal Basic Education Commission of our country, Dr. Hamid Boboyi, decried the gender gap in basic education. He noted that the enrollment rate for girls starts high, but drops significantly, with less than 30% of them transiting to the junior secondary level. It is not surprising, therefore, that the majority of out-of-school children and illiterate adults in our country are females. Secondly, women still grapple with several harmful traditional practices, such as female circumcision, harsh widowhood practices, and domestic violence. Female circumcision is still practiced in some parts of our country by untrained and ill-equipped local women, and this practice has led to the scarring and even death of some young girls. Also, primitive widowhood practices such as shaving of the widow's head, making her to sit on the bare floor for some days, and giving her the water used to bathe her deceased husband to drink to prove her innocence of his death are still carried out in some Nigerian communities. Only this year, there was a bone-chilling incident of a young lady being stripped naked and made to parade in the village square as punishment because her husband's relations suspected her of causing the death of her husband, who died of a heart attack while in bed with her. This incident occurred in a Nigerian state in the year 2022 and was captured both on the social media and the mainstream media. Of course, it has been reported that the police has made some arrests, but your guess is as good as mine whether these culprits will ever be prosecuted. Unfortunately, just as women constitute the majority of the illiterate population in our country, they also constitute the majority of the poor in spite of their tremendous participation and engagement in various economic activities, such as farming, trading, food processing, Rural women who engage in back-breaking labor produce more than 55% of the food grown in the country, yet they own only a small fraction of the means of production, and majority of them live below the poverty line. This is because they lack access to land, capital, and modern farming equipment and inputs. Women also do not usually secure bank loans for their businesses because they lack the collateral, such as land, and this confines many women to a vicious circle of poverty. Finally, in a patriarchal society, women still face some discrimination in their efforts to participate in governance and the public sector of our country. Several world conferences have been held to promote the welfare of women and encourage their active participation in all spheres of the society. And the United Nations Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, otherwise known as CEDAW, adopted in 1979, has been ratified by many nations, including our country. This convention, which is an international bill of rights for women, defines what constitutes discrimination against women and sets up an agenda for national action to end such discrimination. The convention provides the basis for realizing equality between women and men through ensuring women's equal access to and equal opportunities in politics and public life, including the right to vote and to stand for election, as well as education, health, and employment. Countries that are ratified or acceded to this convention are legally bound to put its provision in practice. Unfortunately, women still face some constraints on their role in the society generally, and these have their origin in our traditional interpretation of the place of women, our social-cultural attitudes, and the gender-based division of labor between sexes in our patriarchal society. The result is that in spite of the fact that women constitute a little more than half of the population in our nation and make significant contributions in all sectors of the nation's economy, from farming, food processing, what have you, all aspects, we still have a situation where women's participation in the public sector and in governance is resisted, and they are grossly underrepresented in decision-making positions. A look at our political class in Nigeria will show that women are grossly underrepresented. Of the 36 governors in our country, none is a woman, and only a handful of states have female deputy governors. The Executive Council of most states comprise of all males, with a few states having the nominal 1 or 2 female commissioners. Women also constitute less than 10% of the legislators in both state and national assemblies. Even the 30% of appointed positions recommended by the Beijing platform and accepted by our federal government is not fully and consistently adhered to, both by the state and federal governments. And some women in Nigeria recently had to go to court to secure a judgment to enforce the 35% affirmative action. The result is that the critical masses of women are not empowered or opportune to be in a decision-making position where they could bring about a positive change, and in my belief, that would increase the participation, by increasing the participation of women in the decision-making process, could facilitate the equitable distribution of our national income and create a society which is genuinely harmonious and free from want and deprivation. Just a few strategies I wish to recommend for empowering women before I conclude. There is no doubt whatsoever that the benefits of the empowerment of women could lead to the transformation of their lives and to the development and transformation of our society. Knowledge, they say, is power. And the more the women learn, the more they will be equipped to make sound decisions about their lives and the lives of their children. However, women need to challenge their own mindset and to be conscious of their potential in initiating and bringing about positive change in their lives. By empowering themselves with relevant education and skills that will enable them to actualize their dreams and aspirations. Women must take up the challenge to equip themselves and to take positive action to fulfill their full potentials in whatever enterprise or profession they may wish to engage in. Women must not restrict themselves to their roles in the kitchen, but must take the challenge to become leaders in their respective fields. They must be empowered to actualize themselves outside the home, to be ready to make positive change in the society and in the lives of their children. A reliable strategy for the empowerment of women is a sound education. The saying that when you educate a woman, you educate a family and the society is indeed very valid. And the education of girls can be directly linked to a healthier and more educated children, higher family incomes, and improved environmental sanitation, and increased agricultural production. An educated mother is more likely to provide good nutrition for her children, ensure that they receive adequate medical care, ensure that they have access to quality education. Education indeed liberates the human mind, and the education of both girls and boys must be equally emphasized if we are to raise an informed and productive future generation. However, it must be emphasized that much as more women are now participating actively in many sectors of our society and excelling in various careers and professions, their primary assignment remains that of raising and nurturing the future generation of our nation. It is indeed true that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, and women, if well motivated and empowered, can effect a positive change in the lives of their children. The situation in the country where youths have mostly held the country to ransom by their violent and criminal activities and immoral behavior is abundant proof that they are products of dysfunctional families and poor parental care. Much as the challenge of raising children is for both parents, mothers spend far more time with their children, and they therefore need to take more seriously their pivotal role as nurturers of the children and instill in them sound moral values of honesty, integrity, respect for others, modest dressing, discipline, hard work, and fear of God, which will ensure that they grow to be responsible citizens. In conclusion, the level of moral decadence in our country today is quite deep and concerning, and the future to uphold such sound moral values, beliefs, norms, and ethical standards is so endemic in our society that the failure to uphold this is so endemic that children and even some adults seem not to be able to discern between what is morally right and wrong. Some children as young as 10 years are reported to be sexually active and indulging in immoral acts, drugs and substance abuse, and other pervasive activities. Rape and sexual abuse of minors is commonplace, and incidences of domestic violence are on the increase. With the high unemployment rate in the country, especially among the youth, and the lack of employment opportunities for school leavers, many youths are resorting to criminal activities such as scamming of innocent victims, kidnapping for ransom, and ritual killings as a means of livelihood. Society is a product of the family, and society starts from the family, to the community, and to the nation as a whole. Once the family is broken, society is also broken. If we are to halt the rapid decline of our society into anarchy, we would need all hands on deck. No wonder that Archbishop Kaigama of Abuja charged women on this year's Mother's Day on their role as home builders. He further stated that Nigeria cannot tackle the prevailing insecurity in the country, as well as other menaces, without the full participation of women. The Archbishop, in my opinion, is correct in his assertion, as even the Holy Bible advocates that if one trains a child in the way he should go, when he is grown, he will not depart from it. Women as mothers therefore have a critical and crucial role to play in averting the sharp moral, economic, and social decline of our society. And it is my humble take that they will be better equipped to initiate and effect the needed change in their lives and in the society if they are not discriminated against, but provided with access to quality education, protected from harmful traditional practices and abuse, and empowered economically, and given the opportunity to participate fully in governance and decision-making positions. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Very educative and very knowledgeable speech. Can we just give our last speaker a clap of honor? Our next program, or our next speaker is going to connect to us by Zoom. Just before I introduce him, is he connected? All right, yep, it's true. Just our next speaker is Dr. God knows Bolade Igali. He was a former career diplomat, Nigerian ambassador to Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Norway. He was the former permanent secretary in the Ministry of Power and Water Resources. He is the current chairman and pro-chancellor of the Federal University of Technology in Akure. And on behalf of everybody, I just want to welcome the ambassador. He's a true son of Ijaw land. Thank you very much, Dr. Igali. Welcome to our occasion.
Hello?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Ambassador.
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, let me begin by thanking most sincerely the organizers of this event, in particular our friend and brother, the erudite Professor Monte Gold, for putting this together and taking account of the prevailing global circumstances. Maybe I'll prefer that you share my screen, if you can. Taking account of the prevailing global situation post-COVID, it's a lot of commitment that we spend time to talk. And it is very forward-looking for you and foresighted to put this together. Now, having said that, I'll go straight to my point. I have a number of... can you be able to share my screen, please? It has been a morning of a lot of fun. I've listened to all the presentations, in particular, with no particular order, the presentations by the Bayelsa State Economic Management Team, of which I am an honorary advisor, and I work to give them content. I think you're still having some problem with sharing my screen.
Recording in progress.
But if you can, I'll appreciate it. But if you can't share, so I can go ahead and just talk to it.
Go ahead.
Try to get it. Do I go ahead talking?
Go ahead.
Because if you don't synchronize, I just take my presentation. Hello? Hello?
Can you go and tell them that?
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, I think we have some difficulty sharing my screen, so maybe I just go ahead and make my presentation without the screen.
Yes.
Hello? So can I just go ahead and make my presentation?
Hear the audio.
I'm sending him a text. The screen.
Okay, I've just been advised that you are hearing me, so go ahead and make presentation, even if you don't get to share the screen.
Yeah.
Well, today we've listened to a lot of the issues on the economic front and the social front as presented by Dr. Mrs. Waha. Let me, at this point, talk more on the politics. The politics being in terms of the fact that we need to know what we have done with the articulation of the IJAW voice in the scheme of things in our country. And I have done my presentation to enable us know where we are. And when we talk of voice, where is the IJAW voice in the scheme of things? A voice is not only the vocalization of what you say, but a voice is the definition of your identity, the definition of who you are, and what are your aspirations will be. A voice is where you are coming from. And today we'll be talking briefly about where we are coming from and where we'll be going to as a people. Now, we of the IJAW Nation, like you know, unfortunately I can't share my screen because the first thing I've done is to define our geographical existence by the fact that we are the most coastal of all the ethnic nationalities in Nigeria. We are the most coastal, we are the most dominant ethnic group in the entire Gulf of Guinea, which has about 17 countries. The IJAW are the group that is most cohesive, and we say other things about us. But the fact that we are people who today find ourselves in the midst of maybe perhaps about 400 other ethnic nationalities in Nigeria makes it imperative that we properly understand who we are and how we are trying to defining our identity as a people. Now, let me say that in trying to understand ourselves, I have, after talking about our geographical location, our identity has been defined most aptly by our literary scholars, and I would like to, unfortunately, we can't get the screen. There's a beautiful picture of Gabriel Okara from my own screen. Gabriel Okara, one of Africa's most preeminent poets, focused his writings based on the marine aquatic location where we come from. And his first major work was the Horn of the River Norn, followed by, coincidentally, his novel called The Voice, and later The Fisherman's Invocation. These were his writings in which he symbolizes the various realities of the existence of the IJAW people on the beautiful banks of the various rivers, streams, rivulets, make the base of what is the Niger Delta, one of the biggest wetlands in the whole world. And the Okara said, I hear your call, I hear far away, I hear your call piercing through the Prussian hills, talking about how the IJAW people, as a people, survive and have been around this water, peaceful as it is. And that motive, that story of peacefulness of our existence is shown by the fact that in the 70,000 square kilometers of the River Niger, piercing through the Focados, piercing through the River North, ends up in the Atlantic Ocean. So which means there is our natural life symbolizes a peaceful existence to nature in an ecology which is very difficult, but over the centuries we have conquered it. And in the case of Nigeria, in all the states, the coastal states, we just have lived as indigenous groups in 6 states. And lately, studies have shown that we also have IJAW populations in Abia, the Akwete people. They are now insisting, Ndoki people, Ndokis and Akwetes are insisting the IJAW people. And at the level of ISC, we are talking to them. In Imo State, the Egbema people have said, look, we came from Egbema in Delta State. So we see that we have existed in the entire coastline of Nigeria, and this has been for several centuries, as I shall show you. So our literary icons have shown this symbolism of the aquatic marine, the ecology, the biodiversity in which we exist as a people. And they've made our voice to be heard. That look, we are ancient people. We have lived here with nature for centuries upon centuries. And we have lived in peace with nature. We have conquered this very difficult terrain over the years. Then the next picture we have is a beautiful picture from Professor J.P. Clark, who again used this euphemism of the river to symbolize our existence as a people. His first novel was A Raft, which was published in the early 60s. And in this, he showed the dialogue and the existential challenge between his epical character Olotu and the God Almighty Tamara. And he showed that despite everything, by the end of the day, Tamara, the Olotu, which symbolized the typical IJAW man or the typical IJAW woman, has been able to make peace with Tamara and existed on the banks of the River Focados. Then, just like what Okara did with River Norn, J.P. Clark goes further in his other work, the book, his major book, which won him a lot of awards, the Osigi Saga, again to show the struggle of the IJAW man. Why I'm starting from this point is to show that we have survived this difficult terrain. It's not a survival of few hundreds of years, it's a survival of thousands of years. And at every point we have been able to triumph. And our literary scholars have shown that there is an environmental aspect of our lives. Of course, every people, there is an environmental aspect of their lives. But in the case of the IJAW people, it's been difficult terrain which would have been impossible to live, but our forebears have survived. And our voice, therefore, must be heard at all times, and our scholars have tried to articulate our voice. So by the time when J.P. Clark now wrote his Night Rains, which was his other novel, he now said, look, his poem, Night Rain, he said, look, this area of if you don't take time, which is coming as a result of a new and alien thing that has come into our terrain, the oil industry, it will affect the entire world. It was prophetic. Pollution and oil spillages said will be a global phenomenon. And this was seen because climate change, as he prophetically spoke about, has become a global issue. Now let's go to the next set of definition of who has expressed the job voice very articulately and given us a bearing where younger generations are following. Let's look at IJAW and Teken Atamuno. IJAW, like you know, focused all his work on the Niger Delta, particularly the Jaw people. And in 1972, he came up with the first seminal write-up on the Niger Delta, particularly the Jaw people, the history of the Niger Delta. And Alagwa showed that from Ondo State right down to Akwa Ibom, the Jaws are, and it defined every plant in existence as indigenous people. Now, there's an aspect that we don't speak much, but which exists in the literature, between Alagwa and Professor K. Williamson in their studies of the Jaw language and the history, and they discovered, particularly K. Williamson, that the Jaw language has been separated from every single language in West Africa for between 5,000 to 7,000 years. In other words, every other language in West Africa, especially the forest belt of West Africa, separated from each other maybe 3,000 years, 2,000 years, at most about 4,000 to 5,000 years. But we the Jaws were separated from them for about 5,000 to 7,000 years, showing that an antiquity of our people, which means the German has lived in this area, the landmass which before the ocean, the Atlantic springboard in the Gulf of Guinea, much longer than perhaps every other person. And Alagwa has shown that other colonial writers have written about it, but Alagwa has come to make that voice very loud, that we are indigenous people. We have lived here very loud, for very long. Talbot and other scholars, British colonial scholars, wrote about it. But one of our own now came to define it very clearly for us, articulating the job voice all over the world. This history of Niger Delta came out from his doctoral thesis, which he did at the University of Wisconsin. And it was based on oral tradition. He came up to show that these are an ancient view. And Professor K. Williamson came to take the linguistic aspect of it, and we have defined that part of our identity as our people, incontrovertibly. Now, the other major scholar was Professor Teken Atamuno. Teken Atamuno and Africa, Alagwa in Negema. Teken Atamuno came up, also a professor of history, one-time vice chancellor of Ibadan, Nigeria's premier university. And he wrote many books, all focusing on various aspects of the Niger Delta. But of particular significance to our conversation today is his last book, which was a very, very major encyclopedic book before a pastor, called Oil Wars in the Niger Delta, in which is from the 1850s to the year about 2010, in which he looked at, and please I want us to pay attention to this, the issues of equality, development, the issues of identity, the issues of fight to overcome extraneous ways of trying to put down the job voice. And Teken Atamuno showed quite clearly that the German has never allowed his voice to be dimmed. So in a historic sense, if you combine the words of Alagwa and the words of Teken Atamuno, we see that they just, in the coast, did not just allow themselves to be overwhelmed. First, we conquered the coast. We're able to take care of ourselves. We are comfortable. We are not afraid of water. That's why you see Jaw people in all of the 17 countries in the Gulf of Guinea. We see Jaw people even far away. In fact, there's an interesting story which I'll come to later about Judge of Ogogo regarding our presence in the Caribbean. But let me say that Teken Atamuno showed graphically that after slave trade was abolished in 1807, and the British now introduced what they call legitimate trade, and then later they declared our area as Oil River State. The natural thing was for the European traders to get into the interior, to buy palm oil, palm kernel, and our king said, no, you can't do that. You must come through. This is my territory. My ancestors have lived here for thousands of years. We have been able to conquer this territory for thousands of years. If you must pass through this coast to go into the interior, to buy your products from Igbo hinterland, to buy a product from the Ghana hinterland, to buy palm oil from anywhere in the hinterland, you must do it on my own terms. We did not have the sophistication of British gunboats, but we were not ready to just go down with a whimper. So our ancestors before us did not keep quiet. Let's look at a few examples. The kings of Bonny took on the British might, and as far back as the 1840s, the British took on the kings of Bonny. Pericule I, they took him on, coming right down to Pericule 7. At the time, they even had to take one of them to London. And but then it turned out to be good because they started to acquire education. And Pericule 7, who ruled from 1847 to 1888, schooled in some of the best schools in England and came back. If you go towards the eastern part of the Delta, specifically where there was a lot of great activism, a little bit from Bonny, you go to the Calabari side. From the first time of King Amakri I, when they were in Calabari, there were people resisted the European traders. You can't go beyond here. If you must go beyond here, deal with me. And of course, the British always try to look for ways to overwhelm them. But if you go one step after the Calabaris, you go to the naval area, they will now see full-blown expression of the IJAW identity and the IJAW voice. In case of naval kings, particularly King Koko the Great, whose case is now a global case. The British did everything to bring him down, to say we must go inside. And King Koko, unfortunately, I'm so sorry, I have beautiful pictures of them. King Koko said, no, you cannot go beyond. And in 1895, when the British were still the Royal Niger Company, John Lute and Co. were going behind him, they were giving royal charter to go behind him and start dealing directly with the interior. In 1895, King Koko, the great IJAW monarch, launched an attack on the British, a preemptive attack. He said, look, these people cannot disobey me on my own territory. This land we have lived here for thousands of years. Why I'm emphasizing these points is for us to understand our identity as a people. Those before us did not keep quiet. They did not go just down like that. They insisted on the expression of their rights. And King Koko in 1895 attacked. Of course, the British came after him. This was January. By February, they launched a massive gunboat attack on Ogolmabri, on Pasabri, on his headquarters. And they tried to kidnap him, trying to take him. But of course, King Koko was not going to allow them. King Koko made himself unavailable. And unlike other African monarchs that were kidnapped and taken to West Indies, taken to far places, King Koko just disappeared. In 1898, he said, rather than the white man to conquer and take me, an IJAW monarch away from my land, he committed suicide and could not make himself available. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm making this point because our voice has not been dim. Our voice has not been quiet. Let us take the example also of King Jaja of Opobo. King Jaja of Opobo's storyline was one of the greatest stories ever in global diplomacy. He made success out of his life and became a great trader in Bonny. And when the power play in Bonny, oil, money, and so on became very big, in 1869, he moved, he left Bonny and went to a new island of Opobo and founded his kingdom there and became a great trader. Of course, the British again came to him, tried to stop him from stopping people from going inside. And then the British Consul General invited him and said, please come, let us have a peaceful talk on board by boat, by ship. And King Jaja told him, I will not come unless you put it in writing that if I come, you let me go. And by the time he entered the boat, as you all know, he was kidnapped and taken away to Gold Coast and from there to the West Indies. King Jaja's story has been well told by Dr. Adam Fiberesima in the great work which he called Okujaja, which for the first time a black African presented before the London Philharmonic Orchestra in demonstrating that, and you can all go there and find out. But Jaja was taken to the West Indies, and that is where I said I'm talking about the job presence in the West Indies. First they took him to the Bahamas, and when he got to the Bahamas, some of the people free slaves, they said, hey, this is our king, we are going to force him to be liberated. The British got very uncomfortable, and they moved him to St. Vincent. He got there, and the people in St. Vincent said, this man is our king. So the British now kept him floating in the river until in the 1891 British Parliament, and he didn't keep quiet, he kept fighting. I will not accept this. I'm a king, you can't kidnap me because you promised me you will not kidnap me. I entered your ship with Victoria. I have no problem with you. My problem is with your traders. Well, as you all know, the story is the same until it was British Parliament debated and British court said, this is a king, a monarch, take him back. Unfortunately, he died on the way. The next is the Marichuka of Africa. And I'll stop with the Marichuka story. There are many other smaller ones. Similar story, Marichuka stopped the British. Africa was significant because the Africa location was the most hinterland. So they were in a strong position to guard British incursion beyond them into the Kwere hinterland, into Ndoki hinterland, into the Igbo hinterland to get palm oils. Marichuka refused to cooperate with them. The same consul general who took us to Marichuka. By 1896, he now took him away, and he took him away, and Marichuka was taken on board a boat, HMF Ivy, and he never came back alive. Now, the significance of all this is that we were able to resist any form of oppression. Before it was palm oil, it was palm kernel. We will now come back to the stories of the latter type of oil, which the Jews have still not accepted. Oppression have not accepted. Suppression have not accepted. Any form of denial of our rights, social, economic, and political rights. Talking about political rights, the voice of the German during the period of colonial rule was itself not quiet. The first major person that fought the British was Dr. Albert Macaulay. The next major person was Ernest Coley. Ernest Coley, a man born in Brass, and in 1893 was a pioneer student in King's College, lived in Lagos, endeared himself to the social class in Lagos, and became the most activist political critic in Lagos, and even became trained as a journalist, became the political mentor of Awolowo, became the political mentor of Azikiwe, and was the first editor of Daily Times, and was a pain in the neck of the British, saying, you must go, you must go. He formed the first political group in Nigeria known as the Nigerian Youth Movement in 1923, and played a major role for the independence of the country. When Awolowo formed Action Group, he was a pioneer person with him. Finally, during that period, I'd like to talk about Bishop Dimari of Bonny. Bishop Dimari was a cleric, and Bishop Dimari looked at expressing a job voice from another point of view. Bishop Dimari did not, of course, he was not a politician, but to him, being the first German to become an archdeacon and a bishop, he was ordained as a bishop, the first German to become a bishop. Therefore, he looked at his role as using education. So Bishop Dimari made sure that in almost every job community, a primary school was opened, because he saw that the future was in education. And the primary schools which were open now spawned out educated men that later became a lot of the early great people that we saw. I must not forget to mention Eyo Eta. Eyo Eta, because of the way the name sounds, has sometimes been mistaken by some people. And in fact, in some of the literature, they say Eyo Eta is an ethnic man. No, Eyo Eta is from Ibeno. And we're just of Eastern Ogolo. So Eastern Ogolo is German. And he became the first in Nigeria among this recent during the colonial era to go to university in America and got his PhD from Columbia and was a mentor to Zeke. As a matter of fact, in 1953, he was was a leader in the Eastern House, and at the time himself and Zeke fell out. Now, why IJAW is important is that IJAW, working together with Tapabri, who was the next most important character, personality, were able to articulate the need for the minorities not to be left out during the entire process of decolonization for the British to live. Tapabri, a Bonny man, devoted his life to the fight of the IJAW people. He took on the course of politics at a young age. He was the son of a judge. He had the opportunity to go to school further, but he was so much committed to the IJAW voice being heard at national level. He said, look, we are the fourth largest people in this country. So when political parties were being formed in 1953, he formed one of the first political parties, the Niger Delta Congress. He said he just cannot remain in action group of the Yorubas. He just cannot remain in NCNC of the Igbos. He just must have their own political party. He formed the Niger Delta Congress, which became a political front for our people, and at independence had parliamentarians, including Chief Folokilo in politics. In the professions, this background enabled us to produce some early educated people who held their head very high all over the country. And without taking too much time again, for example, if you look at a man like Dr. Nabo Graham Douglas, who became Attorney General of Rivers State and later became Attorney General of the Federation, now became, along with Rotimi Williams, the first Nigerian to become a senior advocate of Nigeria. What about Chikeji Amakri? Chikeji Amakri from Buguma was one of the first lawyers in Nigeria, having graduated from Cambridge in 1948, and was in 1959 became one of the first Nigerians to become a Queen's Counsel. And he also became the first Solicitor General of the Federation, and later became the first Black African to be Under Secretary General of the United Nations. Do we want to talk about Joe Yala, the man from Bakana, who became the first super permanent secretary and one of the first persons to get the best result at the University of Ibadan, a 1951 graduate, and then became a super permanent secretary, and so on and so forth. And during the Nigerian Civil War, he was specifically sent to Washington because the Americans were going to join the war on the side of the rebels. And Joe Yala, being an IJAW man, held his ground in Washington and told the Americans to come join this war. And so on and so forth. He was not too liked by our Igbo neighbors, but he became the towering figure in the Nigerian diplomatic service and wrote out the Nigerian foreign policy for another 30, 40 years. Let me at this stage. Now, there are so many other personalities which we don't have the time. As all this went on, in 1968, we had 1966, we had the most expressive voice of the IJAW man, and that was the Aziboro Revolution. I have written a lot about Aziboro and his strength, his other two persons with him, Samuel Naro and Nottingham Dick. And but we don't remember also the fact that there was also Yarayo and also Next. Okay. Now, Aziboro, let it be known that from what Samuel Naro was able to tell some of us, Aziboro worked very closely with these members of the political class. I don't know if I'm still here, you're still hearing me. Hello? Are you hearing? Should I round up my presentation? Oh, I'm talking to myself. So, in continuing, as the borough came, it was not a suicide mission, but as the borough said something, and I'd like to let us know what as the borough said. He said, look, that this day may be the ever biggest, greatest day in your lives. And it was a situation where he was not going to keep quiet, where the Joma could not keep quiet in the face of oppression, in the face of aggression, and he took it on. And we know the rest, as they say, the rest is history. These combined efforts all led to the creation of River State, which gave us a big voice, which gave us a big platform for us to be able to continue to articulate our position as a people and to articulate our voice as a people. Of course, I'm happy that King Dejdup speak is with you all there in Newark. What he did in River State. River State especially came about as a result of the hard work of the Joma. Thank God we now have a political platform and our people built River State what it is and dominated the politics. From King Smith now, then Commander Smith being the first administrator during democracy, Chief Methodopilo also became the first political head of River State, and the Joma was now recognized as a credible partner in the Nigerian project, and they built River State to what it is. Finally, Bayelsa State came on to give us more platform. Now, I've mentioned this fact because with River State, with Bayelsa State, with Midwest, Bendel, then later becoming Delta State, we now have a straddling platforms to speak, not only at the level of state government, but we had more senators, we had more members of National Assembly, we had state assemblies. And in fact, at the time, 2015, we had one governor, Bayelsa governor. We had 4 deputy governors, Bayelsa 1, Ondo 1, River State 1, and Delta, all IJAW people. And we had about 6 senators. While all this is going on, the youth did not keep quiet. In the 70s, there was a lot of youthful activities. Time will not permit me to go into all of them. In the 1990s, the 2000s, we had a lot of youth activities that started, leading to the formation of the INC and the IYC, and then the Climate Declaration, and we had the Heroes, Asad Dogbo, Tiko Goriba, and many others that came up. Again, you can see that it was not a case of being quiet. The job was globally became very relevant. I must commend the likes of Asad Dogbo, who sustained at that time a lot of this struggle. I must commend the likes of Ankyo Prince. Ankyo Prince has become a great voice to our people. She could not allow her voice to be dimmed, no matter the level of sex. I must commend the likes of Mr. who could not allow her voice to be dimmed and continue to speak out on the national level. Some of us do more intellectual work, they do more of that.
We want to thank Professor Igali, Dr. Igali, it's time to be corrected. You know, the history of the IJAW people is always very interesting to listen to. And when you listen, you can see the passion in the man and expressing and highlighting some of the inhuman things that the IJAW people have experienced. And of course, he acknowledges Ezoire is, I can get it right.
Yeah.
Ezoire number 1, isn't it? He acknowledges the kind of work that some of our brothers and sisters are doing to highlight the injustice that the IJAW people are experiencing. I want to pass over the speaker to my colleague here, who is going to call on our next speaker. And because we are limited with time, we will try as much as possible to reduce the time that people are presenting their cases. So do please try and focus on the most important aspects of your speeches so we can pick up those and move on with some actions from them. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Our next speaker is Minister and Professor Esther Turner. She is the Chief Executive and Founder of Impacting Villages in Africa Ministries. And she is the Chief Executive and Founder of the Matthew S. Turner Foundation. Please just welcome her by clapping. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. And I want to give honor first to God, who is the head of my life. And I want to give honor to all of the dignitaries that are here at the head table, to everyone in the conference room who holds many titles. And I'm just so honored to be here today. I'm especially honored to be invited by Professor Monty Gold, and was connected to him through Dr. Festus, who is one of the board members. I'm not going to be before you long. I know you have listened very well to your history and to what you're trying to accomplish with your mission and your goals. And I want to tell you that I love Africa. I'm an American woman, but I represent my African American brothers and sisters. Thank you. Who may not otherwise be able to go to the continent of Africa. But God has assigned me to be their feet and their voice in the regions of Africa. I've traveled to Kenya and to Tanzania to do some work on ground, but my focus has been over the last 17 years, East Africa, the country of Uganda. But I believe that God is connecting me now to something broader and bigger, and I'm standing before you all who are from Nigeria. So I think God is saying something to me, that my next move may very well be in your country. Bayesa, I thank you so much for enlightening me and for giving me the opportunity to know your history and what your needs are. Let me just tell you a little bit about Impacting Villages in Africa Ministry. I'm not going to be before you long because I'm going to show a very short video that's going to really give you the background of what I've been doing for many years. God called me to this, and I'm actually continuing the legacy of my late father, Matthew S. Turner, who was a politician in New York City, and we have a street renamed after him. He labored in the community of Harlem, New York, which used to be called Little Africa. Many, many years ago, African countries looked just like Harlem, New York. Now, Harlem, New York is built up, and you would never believe that it was an impoverished area of New York. And so he worked tirelessly over 33 years, and he passed on at a very young age of 59 years old. Never did I know that God would call me to continue in his footsteps. And somehow, through a friend of mine at my job when I worked years ago, invited me to go to Uganda, and I had no idea that my life would change. And I adopted 2 little children, Brenda and Joseph, who were 6 and 7 years old at the time, and now they're 24 and 25 years old. I educated them, guided them, I was their parents, and now they work in the ministry, and my Ugandan son is the operations manager. So we have a whole team in Uganda, and basically what we do are many projects. We do piggery projects because we want the people to help sustain themselves. We teach them how to breed and sell and start their own businesses, not look to Americans or Europeans to give them everything, to tap into their own resources and to be able to help themselves with school fees and iron sheets and other things that they may have need of. We have a sanitary reusable pad ministry because we know that the girls during that time of the month can't go to school. And I don't want any child left behind. So we developed that program. I used to bring the disposable ones and I said, no, I'm just putting a Band-Aid on it. What can I do so that things can be long-term for them? So these reusable pads through this company called AfriPads, and I believe there is an office in Nigeria. It's headquartered in Uganda, but there are other companies throughout the African countries. And those pads can last up to 1 year. And this way, the girls won't be left behind. They can go to school and complete their education. We have water projects where we put in water tankers so that the children can have clean water. You know, when they drink the dirty water, they're infested and, you know, they become sick and some of them die. Malaria, we know, is a really big problem. And so I provide mosquito nets for the kids so that it can help to prevent the mosquitoes from coming in. Many other projects, we service orphanages and we do feeding programs to make sure that the kids have food. And we partner with a young youth pastor who has a street ministry. These kids are on the street and they ended up there by no circumstances of their own. Maybe their parents died, they're in the street, they're on drugs. We help bring them back into safe communities. So what we want to do is to be able to go to other African countries, and we won't reinvent the wheel. We will just bring those projects to maybe Nigeria and be a blessing and to help the poor. Let's watch the video quickly. It's only going to take about 2 minutes or so.
My name is Esther Turner. I'm the founder and CEO of Impact in Villages in Africa Ministries. It's a nonprofit organization. We started 5 years ago with Impact in Villages, although I've been doing the work in Uganda for about 13 years now. And basically we have about 5 different initiatives going on right now, one being a pig project. And basically what this does is it allows the people of Uganda in the villages to help themselves. And basically what the ministry focuses on with that is we give a pig to a family. And the family takes that pig and their responsibility is to go through the breeding process with that pig. Once the pig produces, we teach them to start their own businesses. But we also teach them to give back to the ministry. We have another project called the Sanitary Napkin Ministry, and that project is helping young teenage girls during that time of the month to be able to go to school. Things that we take for granted here in the United States. Every month, girls are able to take care of themselves, go to school without a problem. The other initiative is a water project. We want to build a well. It's going to take a lot of money to do that. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off with a tanker that sits on top of a school. And basically during their rainy season, it's going to collect water. And instead of the children going down to the dirty pond to collect water and to drink from water that has fecal material and all the debris and things like that in it, this is a more healthier method of being able to get water to them. We also have a mentorship program. Mentorship program is to encourage the young people that are in school. We also encourage the children who cannot otherwise go to school, but while they're in school, I want to encourage them. So I gathered a lawyer, a nurse. Basically, what they do is they teach them that they can dream big, that they can become powerful, that they can pursue their professions. When I look back at the work that my own father did, he was a politician in New York and really just made a great impact in his village in Harlem, New York. And when I look at the work that he did, and I look at what God has called me to do now, there's just such a great parallel there. And I'm truly his daughter, in the sense that I'm doing exactly what he used to do when he was working in the streets of Harlem and making an impact in the lives of those children with economical development and educational opportunities. And so we're doing the same thing, and we're just doing it on foreign soil. And so he inspired me so much, and we do have a foundation in his memory, the Matthew S. Turner Foundation. And Matthew S. Turner Foundation is also a partner with Impacting Villages in terms of the work that we do. And, you know, I look at my life, and I look at what I have, but I take so much for granted. And I look at what they have, which is not very much. And I said, I can spare a little bit of myself and my time and my resources to help them help themselves.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There is an announcement that Professor would like for me to make. Tomorrow, there will be a boat ride. I've been asked to work along with him on this project. It's a beautiful boat that is going to go up and down the Hudson River over to the Statue of Liberty. It is an experience you don't want to miss. It's going to be wonderful. The boat goes out from the Hudson River in New York at 12 o'clock p.m. to about 2:30. But you have to be ready by 10:30 because the bus is going to leave at 11 o'clock sharp from this location. So I know my African brothers and sisters. I work with Uganda all the time, I know. And I know it takes us a little time to be on time, but we have to be here at 10:30 sharp so that we can board the bus at 11. We can't wait because they're not gonna wait once we get on to the over to New York City. You know, they're gonna board and they're gonna go out with or without us. So it's, should I give the price or did you talk to them about the price? Should I announce that? So it's $118, but it's worth it. You're gonna have a complete brunch. It's a sit-down dinner, luncheon. You can have breakfast, lunch, you know, entrees, pastries, all of it. Music, DJs, dancing. And it's just gonna be a beautiful, it's the best boat on the island. We were trying to get the spirit of New York, but they're not going out on Sunday because of the holiday, because of July 4th. So we have the Butu, that's the name of the boat. And I've done all my investigations and homework, and I worked alongside a professor. He's seen pictures of it, and it's beautiful. So we want you to come out. We want this to be the highlight. Of course, everything that you gathered here is really wonderful. But now, wouldn't it be wonderful after taking all of this wonderful information for us to come together and fellowship with one another, get to know each other, dance, eat, and enjoy. So that's tomorrow at 10:30, please, and see Professor for your payments. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Professor. Please, on the next, we got about just a couple of speakers, and I'm appealing to them to just use only 3 minutes or less, so that everybody will be out of here. Our next speaker is Aniko Briggs. She's the convener of the Niger Delta Self-Determination Movement. Can we please welcome her?
afternoon, everyone. Your Highness, sir, good afternoon. Yes. Well, let me say it now. It's not going to be 3 minutes, but it won't be too long either. When the program started, and they played the Nigerian anthem, and anytime they do, most times the 3 words that catches my interest and infuriates me at the same time are freedom, peace, and unity. None of this is available in Nigeria. I don't know whether other people have it, but it is not available to IJAWs in Nigeria, nor is it available to the other ethnic nationalities that make up the Niger Delta region. And I've always said to myself that we cannot or should not start off the IJAW project without extending outward to the Niger Delta project. Because we play a great role within the Niger Delta geographical area. And we own a great part of the Niger Delta region. So we shouldn't really just abandon the geographical area as IJAW people. I've listened to Dr. Igali's presentation very attentively, and everything he has said in that presentation is the truth, because it's all about facts that can be researched. And we're here today talking about the development, really, of IJAW people, of IJAW land in Nigeria. And what I've always asked myself is that what's the position of IJAW nation, IJAW people in Nigeria? I came back with my father after being born in the United Kingdom. In 1956, my father brought me to my community, Abonima. And what I always heard growing up in my language is that one eo Abonima, one eo Calabar Napo, one eo Join Napo, as if to emphasize where I find myself today, which is standing up for the truth about IJAW people, standing up for the truth about the region Niger Delta, and where we are today in the country Nigeria. What that meant was that my father always told me, we are Abonima people, we are Calabari people, we are IJAW people. And I think that that's what Igali's presentation was telling us, identity. And I think identity is so key. We're here today because we're IJAW people. Either because we're born IJAWs or we're married to IJAWs, but I am born IJAW. So we're here today because we are IJAW people and we want to identify with our IJAWness, and so we should. I ask myself, and I ask politicians, politics is not the answer to the IJAW man's problem in Nigeria. The answer to our problem is not going to be found in the politics of Nigeria as it is played in Nigeria today. Our survival is not going to be found in politics. It is going to be found in our desire and willingness to rise up and claim our identity and emphasize our identity in Nigeria. And that leads me to ask myself that what is the plan of IJAW people in Nigeria? As I speak to you, as I was sitting down there looking at all my messages coming in, there is a horrific picture that has just been sent out. And this is a killing of a people, the Ajata Aboko massacre. Now, killings are going on every single day, sometimes twice in different places in Nigeria. We seem to think that these things are happening outside of the Niger Delta. We seem to think that these things are happening outside of IJAW Nation. In 2016, December, 2017, January, we became aware that the then governor of Bayelsa State, Dixon, had given or loaned, whatever it is, the term that his government chose to use at that time, 1,200 or 400 hectares of land to Fulani headsmen in Bayelsa, in Yanagua, the Bayelsa Palms, that was part of the legacy of our father, the king here, when he was governor. The Rivers State Palms, and some of it was in Yanagua, in Bayelsa. So when Bayelsa went their way, of course, the Bayelsa State kept that palms. And so, even just for the historical purpose of it, I felt that Governor Dixon had no right, irrespective of the fact that he was the governor. Now, he's no more the governor, but he's giving it away, and that was the point I was trying to make at that time. When I organized a few ladies and youths and said, let's go and deliver a letter to Dixon on the 14th of February 2017, asking him to take back the Bayelsa palms that he had given to Fulani headsmen to graze. And what happened was splashed all over the world. We were attacked, not by Fulani people, not by Yoruba people, not by Igbos. We were attacked by Bayelsa thugs that were sent after us by the government of Bayelsa State. Some of us were wounded, I included, and many other people. Why am I recalling this? I'm recalling it because it is a historical fact for us as a people. Today, we have headsmen roaming around in Bayelsa State. We have them roaming around in my community, in Abonima. We have them roaming around everywhere. They have moved into our communities, and they have taken residence in our communities. And we don't know what they are planning, what they are speaking about. And yet our people rent them homes, and they stay there. They are fishing in our waters. And I was really very interested when my sister, I might even go as far as calling her my daughter, because at the end of this month, I'll be 70 years old. And so I think that I qualify to call anyone I'm older than by 16 years, my daughter or my son. Now, I'm interested because this is the third time the National Assembly, people from North, are raising the issue of the waters and the banks and the rivers that belong to us. And Dr. Igali made it very clear that we belong to the waters by expressing to us how long our forefathers have been there. We are the people of the ocean. We're people of the mangroves, of the swamps, of the forests, of the creeks. And we're going to sit by. We have politicians that are in this National Assembly and House of Representatives and State Assembly members that are just watching this thing come. They pull it back when we say no, and the people that are always saying no are mostly the ordinary people like you and I. And we say no, they pull it back, and then they bring it right back out again. And so when Bayelsa State government was making their presentation and talking about the Gulf of Guinea, Chief Kentebe here is very much aware that I started raising the issue of how important the Gulf of Guinea is and should be to IJAW people, because the Gulf of Guinea, the security aspect of the Gulf of Guinea and the Atlantic Ocean and the nautical miles from where they start counting it into the international ownership, it's only IJAW people that have a right to that place. Now, if we are not in Nigeria, Nigeria cannot lay claim to anything to do with those waters, the mouth of the Atlantic Ocean, and up to the border of the 200 nautical miles. So all of these things should be of interest to IJAW people. Our survival, our future. There are children that are born here. Thank God my dad took me home. There are children that are born here that have not been home and may not have the opportunity to go home if we allow what the federal government is planning to take place. So for a very long time, I have stood up and I have said, we can no longer stay in Nigeria. Now that's easier said than done, I know, and to some people it's horrifying. But you have to ask yourself, if you're in a marriage and that marriage is not working, you're being beaten up every day, your arm is broken today, your leg is broken tomorrow, you really have to ask yourself, must you stay in that marriage? And basically, that is where everybody is. The Yorubas have done their stuff. They're being recognized for their voice, that they don't want to be in Nigeria anymore. The Igbos are doing the same thing. What are the IJAWs doing? What do we want? What do IJAW people want? What is the future of IJAW people? Identity is not just about how we dress. Identity is who you are inside. It's not how you dress. I'm not wearing IJAW attire today, but I don't think that anybody who is wearing IJAW attire today is more fierce in desire for IJAW people to survive in Nigeria than I am standing here. So it is about a personal decision. Some people will tell you, politicians will say, oh, we are better off in Nigeria. How are we better off in Nigeria? How are we better off in Nigeria? The resources is ours, and yet it is not ours. We can't access the resources. It's not ours. So if you say the resources is yours, I say you're a thief, because the resources is mine, and you just have the Constitution allows you to take it. So these are things that I believe, as an IJAW person, I believe for myself, that should be of paramount interest to us. We drink dirty water, we drink from where we defecate, we agree, we see those things, and people are helping us see. There is no reason, it's a shame, it's shameful that people who are not IJAWs will be in a position to help us. I'm not saying that it is not good to help others, but the point I'm trying to make is that we have no business with poverty, none whatsoever, by the resources that God has given to us, by the human capacity that we can develop within ourselves and in our communities. We have no business with poverty. We're poor because Nigeria is taking away our resources. But there is no other resource Nigeria is using today. In Zamfara, they're mining gold. Right now, Dangote is the one controlling, it's just come out. If my grandmother will say, if I'm lying, let where I read it be the lie. But the point is that it's been made known that Dangote is controlling the generated electricity. And electricity is generated, Bayelsa State government was talking about how nice it would be to have all this water generated water generated power and stuff like that. It's wonderful, but we can't. Bayelsa government cannot. I don't think there is any state in Nigeria that can generate that. So as much as it is a desire, and a right desire at that, it can't be done. And so when we tell ourselves this novelty, and we don't add that right now, Bayelsa State government or any government, River State or Delta State, cannot get up and start generating electricity, because when you generate electricity, you can't distribute it. You give it to the federal government to distribute. And from what Dangote is doing, from what we have just heard, what is happening is that we're generating the electricity. They are taking the electricity and supplying it to the north. And so in Port Harcourt, I run generator 247 if I want to be comfortable. And so that is where we are. So I round up by asking ourselves, with all the great things that we must do and should do, I want to say that the first thing we should ask ourselves is, what is the plan for Ijaw nation? As a people, are we saying that we cannot be a nation or we cannot control our region? I want Ijaw people to answer that question. If we don't answer that question, every other plan we have is just novelty. It sounds good, it looks good, but can it be? I ask you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, our next speaker, I'll call on our honorable member, Professor Sibazaiki, to come and introduce our next speaker. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Governor Dejdup, represented by Honorable Erasmus Patrick, the Honorable Commissioner for Ijaw National Affairs, my colleague in the House, Honorable Fred, with the PhD, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, I would like to properly introduce the chairman of this great occasion. The chairman of this great occasion became a governor at 24, the governor of all River State. Since then, he has served our great country in various capacities. Only recently, he was the chairman of the Bayelsa State Traditional Rulers Council. He is the Amayanobo of Tombras, Seya II, King Alfred Papa Priye Dieter. It is from this family that truly says, for every great woman, there is a solid woman behind, who is the wife. I'd like to introduce Her Majesty Queen Josephine Dieter. I'm giving the opportunity to call her to come and say one or two things about our foundation. I'm an ardent follower of what she's been doing. She's done great for our people back home. And this hall is very gender sensitive. The women are equal to the men, and we want the women who are out of the country to know that one of you is doing very well back home. So, because we don't have time, the dinner is going to be a good one because of the participation of the governor. It's been explained to us what has happened. There are some emergencies and the governor needed to attend to that. But he has promised to be with us by 7 p.m. We all have to be in the hall by 6:30 so that we can start that event quickly and quickly. And for now, we have to end this event in the next 10 to 15 minutes so that people can go and get ready for the evening. We don't have to sit down all day here. So anybody who is being called to speak now should summarize. And Monday Gold, the president, will speak. Her Majesty will speak. Our king, who is the chairman of the occasion, will give the closing remarks after the question and answer session that will be moderated by architect Amagbe Denzel Kente. And we will bring this ceremony to a close. But let me just say one thing and I will go. I want to congratulate all of you that have come from far and near. Today, actually, is not a day of activism. For me, coming all the way from Nigeria to see faces from far and near, Canada, Australia, and different parts of America, Britain, and so on and so forth, in one hall, by the young people, it is worth celebrating ourselves. And one who had come from the backwaters and the creeks of Bayelsa State, I think the young people have made some progress. We have made some progress. One, I'll give you one. That's what I'm going to tell you. One, we have a state that is homogeneous, that the young people can call our own. We never had this when I was growing up. Number two, when I was growing up, the biggest institution that was available to me was Bishop Timari Grammar School. Today, only Bayelsa State have 4 universities. Again, we have produced a president, anyhow you look at it. Anyhow you look at it. So, what is now, it goes upon us now to give our children hope for the future. And to do that, we have to be more strategic. The days are gone when we must stand on the podium and shout and shout and shout. Today we need to strategize. And that is why your activities in the diaspora is very crucial. You can see far beyond what we can see from back home. So we need to together strategize, plan, and give our children hope. That is now what is important. Part of it could be restructuring. Part of it could be supporting the government back home. Part of it is being constructive criticism of we in the National Assembly and the government. Constructive criticism. It is no longer time. It is no longer doing the usual by complaining. It is time for strategy. So let me call on Her Majesty, Our Royal Majesty, to tell us what she's been doing back home. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Your Majesty, King Alfred Papa Dieta Spade, the chairman of this occasion, the representative of His Excellency, Senator Doye Diri, the president of this great organization, all the speakers here present. I would like to learn some of the protocols, the honorable members of the House, as I said, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this opportunity. I am Her Majesty, Dr. Josephine Dieta Spade, a barrister at law. And I'm really excited to be here today and given this opportunity to speak. I'd like to start, I'm going to cut part of because of time constraint, I'm going to cut part of my speech in because of the history. I think we all know the history already of the IJAW nation. But I'd like to thank the organizing, committee for putting this together. It's not an easy feat, and being the maiden one, I want us to put our hands together for them. Is the maiden one for the IDC. I mean, it's indeed commendable that though you're in the United States of America, you have not eroded your sense of appreciation for the Nigerian culture. And this has led to having this program, I've been given a topic, effective collaboration between the IJAWs in the diaspora and the IJAWs back home, specifically for the women. My topic is effective collaboration with the IJAW diaspora, hope for the IJAW women. So I'll go straight to talk about the IJAW women, the IJAW woman. The plight of the IJAW woman. The IJAW woman is majestic, full of strength, beautiful, hardworking, long-suffering, compassionate, and caring for her children and loved ones. The IJAW woman is depicted with a pan on her head, a baby wrapped on her back, and her work implements in her hands, ready to provide for the family under the hot African sun and the Niger Delta rain, unperturbed by the harsh experiences of life. That is the IJAW woman. IJAW women are mostly breadwinners and the nurturers of their families. However, their livelihood is greatly impeded by challenging environment of the Niger Delta, which, though rich in oil and income-generating opportunities, are out of the reach of the IJAW women. According to Professor Bolande Away, it's important to focus on women's history because an account that ignores their contribution to development cannot be valid or reliable. To the IJAW, God is not merely a creator, but a procreator. The divine power to bring life into being is understood in the light of the functions of women to replenish the earth, according to IJAW 2003. Many groups worship and still worship female guardian deities, thus reinforcing the strength of the feminine image. Women play a significant part, yet to be fully detailed in study, to the development, and they were most central in every field, exercising domestic economic power, the power of combined opinion in politics, and through the force of moral and group persuasion. Late Honorable Justice Koribamo David Ubuku, a chief judge of Bayelsa State, firmly affirmed the role of women in the IJAW land at a program in Yenagua in the early days of the creation of the state, when he said, he told the gathering that the tenacity of his mother, without that he wouldn't have advanced in life. That his mother was the sole strength that brought him to who he is today. That is the true story of many sons and daughters of the IJAW land. The women, their mothers are strong, industrious, and visionary, educated enough. The children are sent through school to achieve heights their parents could only dream of. Unfortunately, today, the evil of industrialization in the name of oil and gas extraction and the attendant land grab pollution have put a lot of our women out of the traditional livelihood, occupation of fishing and farming, which gave them prosperity in the past, thus pushing them into poverty and loss of control of the children's basics because of the numerous vices among our youths. The IJAW women means of survival are also threatened by growing trend of farm produce, theft, and flooding. Added to her woes are kidnapping, heather invasion, and early widowhood, leading to loss of socio-economic sustenance. She also suffers from the attendant factors of poverty, increased by the lack of education, susceptible to violence, courtesan, health challenges, underage motherhood, in addition to some harmful traditional practices. The list is endless. But let's look at how we can collaborate with these women. Effective collaboration with our IJAW women. IJAW women are agents of social change, if given the opportunity. History has records of sacrifice by women in the past defending demand for right actions. With modernity and a growing global village scenario, room exists for much to be done to improve this society. The importance of collaboration in achieving a great vision can never be overemphasized. It is said that a foreman is not equal to 4 men. It is said that no foreman is equal to 4 men. 2 heads are better than 1. A single tree does not constitute a forest. The above sayings underscores the validity, the vitality, and indispensability of collaboration in achieving incredible feats. Therefore, collaboration will be a welcome development, for it will change the narrative of the IJAW women in the livelihood scheme. Now, it's undeniable that the IJAW diaspora have assets for collaboration due to their international exposure, international contacts, financial resources, human and mental resources that override the economic capabilities of their counterparts in the homeland. Therefore, they can offer training, assist in primary health care, provide resources, and partner with the IJAW women in their homeland. So here are some proposed avenues for this IJAW diaspora collaboration. Number one, I'm going to talk about intervention in violence and ill treatment against the IJAW women. The IJAW women, like their counterparts across Nigeria, as we have heard so far, are victims of cruelty that include neglect, rape, defilement, domestic violence, female genital mutilation, trafficking of the girl child, and exclusion of widows from their late husband's property, among others. As a queen of the IJAW extraction and a lawyer by profession, we have been able to assist many widows through the office of FIDA, the Federation of Women Lawyers, to support them in gaining freedom from their oppressors and acquiring their rightful possession. We have also used the welfare officers of government to bring assistance to most women. Until recently, Dame Julie Doling, while in the office as the Director General of NATIP, National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, was a guest in a program we organized to enlighten women on the trafficking of girls for prostitution. And we have since put a close eye on them from our domain. Incidentally, I'm the president of the Queens of the Niger Delta. So I've used that avenue to put a close eye on trafficking of girls in different domains. In the above regard, I proposed the IJAW diaspora to organize or sponsor campaigns of violence against women within the IJAW nation, working together with FIDA and other recognized human rights advocacy group organizations in the campaign against violence on women, especially in the next coming electional period I always use to occasion violence against women. The organization of the youth's attitudinal change, prevention of violent conduct, and persecution of culprits, and rehabilitation of these victims. Also, the importance of education cannot be overridden. So I would want to encourage the diaspora to, I'm trying to cut my people down for time, to do something about education of the girl child, to sponsor the girl child, to help the women with adult education, because most of them are not educated. And like one of the speakers said, without education, we cannot actually bring up our children in a proper way. So I'm advocating that there should be, in my own opinion, opportunities given to these girls, like I have done. As my position, I'm a proprietress of a school, spanning elementary to the high school, and I've used this God-given opportunity to give scholarship to the girl child. I have over 40 students on scholarship at any given time in my school. Currently, I have 25 students, both male and female, from my kingdom. 5 solely sponsored by me for 6 years and free accommodation and free transport, while the remaining 20 in collaboration with IJAW and other oil companies, solicited by me. My foundation, Lady Josephine DSSP Foundation, caters for the orphans, the widows, the physically challenged, and the elderly. Because the elderly are one group of people that have been greatly neglected in Nigeria. When we go to see them, you see the women, most of them are bedridden, they don't have children, and nobody cares about them. So we clean them up, provide for them, and get a care for them. And we don't really have elderly homes for them to go to. So it's really a problem, and I'll be glad I'm proposing that the IJAW women diaspora do something about it. Thus, I recommend that our diaspora campers do more with the resources available to them in organizing academic trainings, helping the IJAW female students to access local and international scholarships, and offering financial support for the indigent or the intelligent IJAW female students. Likewise, support the elderly with adult education prospects and will promote general literacy and improved living. By so doing, the IJAW in diaspora will have created a forum for the girls and women to improve their communication skills, trade, and invariably the generation unbound. I also talked about here empowerment, empowering the IJAW woman. When I became queen of Twombra's kingdom, I discovered, which is exactly 28 years ago, I became queen of Twombra's kingdom. I discovered that the women were neglected in the scheme of benefits offered to the kingdom. Their livelihood was hampered negatively, affecting their survival and the children's education. Then I set out to work to convince the king and the chiefs of the importance of creating an enabling environment for the women to strive. These issues were presented also before the CEOs of companies in that environment. And I would be glad to say I blazed the trail in 1998 when I was the managing director of a microfinance bank to give the kingdom women microloans to better their lot. We achieved the empowerment feat by making the women form cooperatives, and each group of 10 persons were given finances to start a trade. We also created an executive arm to manage the kingdom affairs, which a woman leader heads today. When we found out that the elder women were neglected, we created an elder women forum alongside the women executives to cater for the aged women in the kingdom. Today, we have supported the women to own a cold room, flower sales outlets, income generating passages, and job opportunities. Equally, I, with the help of my foundation, also redirected the youth to be gainfully employed, which until recently catered for over 40 of them to take them away from crime through engagement in environmental sanitation project. If an individual can achieve such a feat, I believe men and women in the diaspora together, we can achieve more. So I charge you, the IJAW diaspora, to make a difference in the lives of the IJAW women in Nigeria by supporting their ability to cater for themselves daily and become self-reliant by offering them microloans, collaborative export opportunities, community investments to create employment, introducing them to new technologies, advocating for improved living conditions, and providing support on trading implements. The IJAW diaspora can support the local women in entrepreneurial training, skill acquisition, support for startups and small-scale businesses, and packaging varieties of their products to attract international patronage. The diaspora IJAW persons can also arrange for the export of our local produce to globalize the Nigerian IJAW product. These export opportunities will aid the expansion of our economic growth as a nation and industrialize our farm produce as an ethnic nationality. Both parties can collaborate in a manner that benefits them and their generation. Encouraging IJAW women to participate in politics and take up leadership position is very key. Women are endowed with leadership and qualities for creation. Believe it or not, we make the men who become the president. This is verified in the way they manage their homes and cater for their children. These women's abilities are easily to be replicated in governance, and their presence in political office will spell better opportunities for women in general. So encouraging and supporting IJAW women in politics and leadership positions will go a long way in ushering the much needed liberation and self-reliance. I was opted to contest the election in 2011, but there was no contest, only selection. And I was not selected because I didn't have the real support. I lacked the support at that time. So through my mega resources, I still manage 2,000 women across the Niger Delta in my foundation that harbors the widows, the physically challenged, and the elderly. These benefit from feeding, housing, clothing, trade, microloans, educational scholarships for themselves and their wards. These people had encouraged me to vie for office, and I still hope age is still on my side. However, I'm 55 this year. My youngest is 23. However, the chance is here to come. I've however used, until this moment, the chairperson of the Queens of the Niger Delta, until recently rather, and the president of the Queens of the Niger Delta to achieve some of this feat. So, leadership training is very important for women back home. So, as diaspora, I think you can help them in that way, to create the avenue for them to be trained and encourage them to vie for offices. Conclusively, I'd like to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. Despite the fact that I had to push out my speech here, but I'm sure I've said something that's very important to take home. So, collaboration cannot really be possible without a platform. So we need to create a platform whereby these women can be reached. And I tell you, the IJAW women will not disappoint you. So that the local IJAW woman can be empowered to achieve their fullest abilities and potentials in every aspect of life. For every IJAW woman to fulfill the requirement of her heart and be free from this form of oppression, she needs to be liberated and confident in herself. Her desired accomplishment in life is a sine qua non for the benefit of the IJAW nation naturally. Once more, permit me to thank the opposition for this great assembly, for listening and giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. God bless you and God bless you.
Thank you. Without a woman, there's no society. Thank you. And I feel the challenge. I feel the pain. And I will challenge you, the Queen. I want to say in this room, the IJAW diaspora is about our people. I challenge every single, in this part of the world, social workers are the people that support these women. Every single social worker, registered practitioner in the IDC, the woman calls for your support. Put yourselves together and support that call. Put yourselves together and support that call. And I challenge you all, by the end of this convention, I wait for all of you to come to me. As the Director of Humanitarian Matters, the Queen, I would like to have your complimentary card, and we would follow that. We've done some work with Do Foundation in Bayelsa to support women around domestic violence. So we'll continue to work with you. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. We would like our president, Professor Gold, to come and give us a few words before we have the King to end this segment of the event. Professor Gold, I want all the executive to stand up and clap for Professor Gold.
Thank you. First and foremost, let me recognize our brothers and sisters on the high table. I also want to recognize the IJAW people from the United Kingdom. We have in our midst Dr. Boma Douglas and his wife, who is a barrister, June Douglas. Please put your hands here. I also like to recognize the presence of the IJAW Women Association of United Kingdom, represented by Esther Tarere Oki. I am making this introduction to attest to the fact that the IJAW Diaspora Council is a family of most of the most viable IJAW diaspora organizations around the world. I also want to recognize the presence of Chief Dambo. Chief Dambo is the president of the Bayelsa State Association in Australia. We also have, by the way, Barrister Douglas is the president of the Calabria Association of the United Kingdom. Now, it might also interest you to know that Nigerians in the United Kingdom have an umbrella organization for all the Nigerians. And the history points to the fact that for the first time, we've been able to have an IJAW man to be in charge of that organization. It is also, again, my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Bowman Douglas, formally. We also have quite a number of men and women from one of the most powerful subgroups in the IJAW nation. We have members from the Wakriki Association. Please. Thank you. We are so happy to have the participation of IWA. The IJAW Women of North America, their record is quite clear. Thank you. Thank you. Now, when it comes to IJAW matters, especially before the advent of COVID, we know the individuals that have been really struggling, fighting day and night to project the image of the IJAW people, to protect the territorial integrity of the IJAW nation. We have in our midst Chief Architect Amangbe Kentabe. Well, the list is long. I'm going to stop there briefly. But I want to also recognize the executive members of our great organization. We have in our midst someone who have, in the last 50 years, dreamt about the structure of IDC. And it's the person of Dr. Nabena. Yeah. We have several political parties, and it's on record that since the advent of politics, Bayelsa has been more or less been ruled by PDP. And we have some key members in our organization that really worked towards bringing PDP, and I stand to be corrected, because I know that Fela Bedi is here, and Professor Steve Azaiki is also here. But our able INC Foundation member, Honorable Commissioner Erasmus Patrick is also here. That we have in our leadership a fine, very intelligent, a woman with a temperament that is worthy of emulation. IDC is where we are because of this amazing woman. And my introduction of the executive will not be acceptable without mentioning Honorable Honorable Mrs. Desiree Brisbane. Thank you very much. I love you. Thank you so much. Now, we are trying to create a partnership, very enviable partnership with an organization that has been introduced to us, and we look forward to making sure that your projects are taken to a IJAW nation. We have in our midst quite a number of dignitaries from the African Diaspora Union. African Diaspora, there are about 4 of them here. One of them was involved in an accident and she's not here with us. But our prayers and thoughts are with her. Please extend our warm regards to Viola Green, that IDC, the IJAW Diaspora Council, wishes a speedy recovery. We have in our midst, one of them I would like to say, to represent him, Honorable Ambassador Robert Francisco Asprilla. Thank you. This relationship has been made possible. Our relationship has been put together by the first military governor of Rivers State. Yes. The whole Rivers State. Yes. He's here. You know, he's a king that, I don't know how to describe him, but I've seen him in several functions, but I can say this. He has never been late in any government function, even though most of the leaders, because when he came to my secondary school years ago, and then I was in secondary school in Bonny, he came with his helicopter, and I was part of the kids running around to sing for him. In spite of his marvelous, fantastic, immeasurable contributions as it relates to the development of the whole River State, he has been so consistently punctual in all issues concerning the donation. We appreciate it. We do. Now, there are other things I would like to say, but time is of the essence. Time is of the essence. If I have not recognized you, please forgive me. A lot of people are here. I have my secret friends here. One of them is Chief Iwarimi Ezekiel. I also have another secret friend here, Dr. Festus Odubo, who is an energy expert, and he has done so well to take several businesses to Nigeria, and some of his business associates are here. And another friend of mine is Tari Odubo, and Tari Odubo is so, Otobo, I beg your pardon. Tari Odubo is so down to earth. He lives in North America, and our convention was not communicated to him on time. But when a critical stakeholder of the IJAW nation reached out to him that he would be in the United States, Dr. Otobo quickly, without hesitation, said, I will be there. And so we need people like Dr. Otobo, people that are responsive to the call, responsive to the IJAW agenda, have the right temperament, willing to work together. Dr. Otobo, you're welcome. Now, finally, we have our partners here who have contributed financially to the success of the organization. I thank each one of you. I thank you so much. There is one group I'm going to mention because they gave us so much money. And so please, if you look at the back of your brochure, the event journal, I want to make this clear. Zito and Rose Farms, beg your pardon, Rose Farms, thank you. We love you. Thank you. You've done so well for IJAW nation, and I hope that you will continue to do that. We also like to recognize the second page, that is TTS, back cover, inside back cover. This is a company that is well known internationally, because remember now, it is reported that we have about last year's remittance, diaspora remittance to Nigeria is about 27 billion US dollars. And we know, the record shows that that is just a fraction of what Nigerian diaspora can do. We have a lot, sometimes, most of the times we send so much money when we are going to Nigeria, and that has not been officially recorded as part of our financial contribution as it relates to the stability of Nigeria. Now we have TTS that has surpassed quite a number of organizations interested in assisting us to transfer money to Nigeria. If you are using, some of them, if you are sending 1,000, your fee is going to be $12. But we have an organization called Tap Send, and that $1,000 makes no difference. Maybe just $2 or thereabout. You are free to use the service. It's credible. They will have a very strong and sustainable partnership with IDC. It's on record that they are willing to work with us. And so the representative is here. She has so much love for IJAW people to the extent that she told Chief Edward Ibanimo and his wife and their children that she is willing to be seen as an IJAW woman. And so tonight you are going to see her in IJAW regalia, but she is from Yoruba Nation. Okay, thank you. So once again, I have my prepared speech here. I've been there for too long. So I thank the members of the high table. Some of them I can't mention, but we have one of the most respected ambassadors here, Tarela. We love you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, with that, I'd like to say thank you. Buy the raffle tickets. It's going to be amazing. I guarantee you, if you've not been to the East Coast before, you will see what you have never seen before. So please show up, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so they have asked me to stop talking. Love you. So, I will, and I'm still talking. This is what teachers do, so you know I'm a teacher. Please forgive me. I did. This is the second time I'm recognizing IWA, the IJAW Women of America, the IJAW Women Association of United Kingdom, ably represented by Madam Oki. Thank you. Yes.
I recognize everyone. God bless you all. My name is Tari Oki Akinlade, President, IJAW Women Association, United Kingdom. Yay!
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, time has been fast spent. I think we've all had a wonderful time listening to all the speakers today. My name is Denzel Amare-Kentabe, and I'm going to be the moderator for this evening. To give people opportunity to ask a few questions. We had speak earlier, the representative from Bayelsa State government on investment. We had Dr. Ngeri, who spoke on the role of women. Ambassador Igali from home talked about the voice of the IJAW nation, using examples of our literal icons. Then we had Professor Turner, who talked about impacting our villages, impacting villages in the African community. Lady Ankiu revved us up, as usual. What do we want? A big question, because if we don't know what we want, we don't know where we're going. Her Majesty, Dr. Spieth, spoke about collaboration with the diaspora, especially with the women, and she gave us great examples of the things that she has done, and also suggestions on what can be done to improve the collaboration, especially between the diaspora women and the women back home. So now this is your turn to ask questions. we have an opportunity to, we're going to do this very fast, so I'm going to give an opportunity to 4 people to ask questions of any of the speakers who have presented to us today, apart from Dr. Igali. It could be a question to anyone else on the high table. We have the governor's representative here. We have our honorable members. We have our ambassadors. And we have, of course, most of our speakers are sitting down here. So if you have any question, your question should be very brief. If you have a comment, it should even be more brief, you know. And if you talk too long, I'm a very, very strict person, I will stop you. So please take note. Ask your question, get straight to the point, make your comment, get straight to the point, so we can all have ample opportunities to benefit. Thank you very much. Lady, over there. I'll bring you the mic, don't worry. That's all right. So I can stand next to her, make sure she's not.
My name is Bina Yidiori. My question is for the presenter of the Bielsa State Investment Summit. She talked about investments in Bielsa, but I didn't hear anything about tax incentives from the state. So I would like to know what the tax incentives are for Bielsa State. Thank you.
That's a great question. Thank you.
No, go ahead.
Okay, now Bielsa State can only give you a tax break on what it controls. Federal taxes obviously has nothing to do with the states. States cannot control that. However, working together with the NIPC, we can facilitate tax holidays, which are federal taxes. State government controls payee tax. That we can talk about, but not federal taxes. And then you should also know that we are working to key into the AGOA, which is the Africa Growth Opportunities Act. It's actually a United States Act that enables people export over 6,000 commodities from Africa for qualifying countries. Happily, Nigeria is one of those qualifying countries, tariff-free to the United States. So those of you here can key into that. You can't do that from here, but if you're exporting goods from Nigeria to the United States, you can key into AGOA and do that tariff-free. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Questions? Yes, please. There's a lady. Okay.
Greetings and blessings, IJAW Nation. My name is Deborah Dane Abbey, for the record. This is in pursuant of the question posed by our dragoness and mother of the IJAW Nation. And she asked, IJAW Nation, what's the plan? The Yorubas have their plan. The Igbos have their plan. The Hausas and the Fulanis have their plan. And so my question is, not just to ITC, but to the entire IJAW Nation, really, what is the plan moving forward, IJAW Nation?
Thank you. Is that question get to someone, or you were just asking a rhetorical question?
It's not rhetorical by any means. If IDC can answer that question as far as the leadership goes, or if anybody who has a plan that IJAW Nation doesn't know about can answer it. Thank you.
Anyone wants to take on that question?
The representative of Governor Dejdup.
Our governor will speak on that.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, I'm aware that the president of the INC, the Joint National Congress, Professor Benjamin Lukaba, is doing something in that direction. A group of our people too have put themselves together to find out more facts as to how to get there. So be rest assured that we are not going to get behind. the INC is doing everything possible to bridge the gap. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I mean, it's very surprising. I was listening to Dr. Igali, and he had mentioned that sometime in the 60s, I think Ernest Ikoli started the first political party. And then it went down to the 70s and 80s, where he said that in River State also, we had another political party started by Niger Delta. Dapabri. But today we don't have any. So maybe that's where to start from. Let's start thinking about that. That's the way we can form a party that we know that this is for IJAW people, what IJAW people want, and then we'll go on bargain with it. That's what everybody else is doing. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you. Question? Oh, there's a question here. No, you ask. Then we'll take two more.
This question is directed to the Queen of Twombras. Yeah. Thank you very much for your presentation. First of all, I want to appreciate and honor you for what you are doing. My wife follows you online a lot. And then the other question I really want to ask, what are the challenges you face, cultural challenges? Because you are into the children, you are into the elderly. What are the cultural challenges, not financial, cultural challenges you face coming out with such a big project?
Yeah, thank you. Most of the challenges we face actually has to do with being a woman. And you know, I'm really frustrated about the fact that I'm a woman, I'm sitting down here, they've been announcing since they didn't even announce my name. And yes, we're talking about women. I'm just trying to give you an example of how they feel. So mutilation of the girl child, violence against the woman, all these things. When you report it to the government or the men, it's like fallacy. They don't take it serious. So these challenges, because of our culture, the women are seen as second fiddle. So they are not listened to. They are not given the opportunities that will actually advance them. So, if, for example, I go to the village and I see a woman without, maybe she has children, can't even find her children. She's all alone, elderly, and there's a local government there, but they don't care because she's a woman. The truth be told. But if it's a man, I mean, people will look at it. If a man copulate with a woman, the woman and another man's husband, for example, the woman will be beaten. The woman will be dirty, but a man slept with her. Nobody talks about the woman. I mean the man. The man gets away with it all the time. So what happens is that if a woman, a place is given to that woman and treated with respect and given the opportunities, they'll be able to do a lot better. But culture has always brought us down. And I think that culture, I'm so sorry. It's not one of my favorite. And yes, that's one of the culture too. And you can imagine me tying wrapper and trying to get to my kingdom by water. Yes, you can imagine what that means. So it's a big problem. The word culture lays on our shoulders diminishes our ability to be viable and to be able to be self-sustained, reliant on our trade. Everything is the man's word. So my appeal here is that the men should give the women a chance to complement them. We don't want to leave them, but we want to complement them. So that there will be a difference in the world. And I'm telling you, if they do that, Nigeria itself will be a different place. For example, election is coming up next year. Why don't you make a woman a vice president for once, and we will get a difference? Culture has already brought us down. But if you look at history, which has not really been documented, women did a lot in history. Think of Amina, think of Aga. They were there, they were women, great women that made a difference. Can Nigeria do that? Can the IJAW nation think of bringing up their women? At least one woman to make a difference in IJAW nation? That would be great. I'm thinking of what she said. Q, okay, yes. Mommy Q here, what she said about being an activist. I agree with her that we need a voice in the Niger Delta. We need a voice. Most of our young men that would have spoken for us are sold out. Let's get a voice in the Niger Delta. And then a man or a woman, but somebody that can lift up the IJAW nation. Thank you.
Last question.
Mine is a plea. I want to place plead because I work with young people in Bayelsa State, and there's a whole lot of gap between leadership and the youths. As I'm speaking right now, we have lost a lot of our people into cultism, dropouts from school. There's no mentorship in the IJAW nation. Who would they look up to? Whereas we have a whole lot of leaders. I had a program in a tertiary institution and I invited Professor Steve to speak. When he ran down his profile, the students stood up and started applauding. They said, only you. And I want to tell you that at the end of that section, that year, we had a lot of people thinking straight. Because the thing was, after school, what next? So they got to understood that he came from nothing to where he is. But that's the problem we have. There's no mentorship. People are not picking up people to train them. And these young people are helping themselves. Right now, we are challenged with Yahoo. Young boys killing girls. Everywhere. Quick money. And it's not helping us. River State, Delta State, Akwa Ibom State. The cultism in Bayelsa is high more on the Niger Delta. No government can handle security alone. And all the monies that the government get, little money that comes from their location, we don't have much. Bayelsa State has only 8 local governments. And when the money comes, there's too many things on it. We need help. As the state government, we need help. Because I run the agency for mass education. It caters for those girls who are out of school, who can't join the formal education. And it also caters for adults, a lot of our women who didn't go to school, who dropped out, now coming back to the classrooms. Because education is key to prosperity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, I let her go for a little bit because it's something that we all needed to hear. Those kids are our future, and no matter what we're doing here, no matter how successful we think we are, if we have no kids to hand over our nation to, then all our efforts will have been in vain. Yes. So we need to really think about that carefully, and maybe another session somewhere. No more questions. I said 4. I'm sorry. And that's it. So thank you. Let's have our king close so we can leave.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Not for me now.
I would like to, for us to end this segment of the day by calling on our king to give us a closing remark for this time, because we're back here for the gala night at 7 o'clock this evening, when we hope that the governor would be with us and other dignitaries that we're expecting to this occasion. But I want to use this opportunity before the king comes to say thank you, to invite that lady who spoke about the young people in Bayelsa to please come and see me before at the end of this event. Thank you.
Ils ont qui m'aiment là. Même la mère. Oh non. Ado. I must admit that I am fully satisfied for coming for this conference and summit. I wouldn't have missed it for all the tea in China or the oil in Nigeria. And that's it, the fact. The IJAWs have stood their ground over the years, as was clearly spelled out by Ambassador Ghali. The IJAWs are a peculiar people. And God has also blessed us the president with a lot of, we have been pioneers in even the struggle, as was pointed out. But let me give you a small information which might even make you happier. Israel is on Israeli diaspora movement. I don't know if how many of you know of it or heard of it. Is on Israeli diaspora movement. This is a letter they sent to me on the 9th of June. Appointment as special envoy and chairman of his own Israeli diaspora movement. And it goes on to say that these ones, according to history, were a tribe in Israel way back in the biblical account of the Arab king of Asa. Let me leave it at that. I'll make this letter available to the organizers so that you will all have a copy. But that is only one of the areas I can open up to you for us to widen your scope, give you more opportunities, and also give you opportunity to serve, to volunteer to do one thing or another. The African Diaspora Union, AfriDu, also in a similar manner, appointed me as a special envoy and chairman of the African Traditional Rulers Council in Diaspora Council. I was in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, about a month ago, to be inaugurated as such. And also, the African Council on Narcotics also found me fit to be made their chairman. And I'm supposed to take the message to all the African kings and governments that unless the substance abuse and prevention sensitization programs are carried out, they have no future. Because the people that we're supposed to be handing over to would have become junkies. These are just a few things which message I thought I should pass on to you on this occasion. You can identify with the African Diaspora Union, which was set up about 10 years ago by a declaration of the African Union itself in South Africa. It's called Sadon. Well, we are going to try and see that quite a number of them are completely convinced that their parents or grandparents or great-grandparents who were taken away as slaves over 500 years ago, they want to come back to and have established a homestead back in Africa. And they have chosen Bayelsa as where they want to have a smart city. Slave trade started not just with a set of wave of slavery sent to the West Indies. Slave trade, a lot of Africans were being taken to Europe before them. So there are a lot of the Africans in the diaspora who really want to come back home, and they have an organization called the Right to Return. Over the last 10 years, they have given us a report of how they have progressed. They also have a sixth region, apart from the 5 regions, North, South, East, and Central Africa, and West, and East Africa. They also have the Caribbean and all the West African and South African group as the 6th region of the African Union officially, and they attend the meetings of the AU. They too are now part of the African Diaspora Union, AfriDo. So your organization will be linked up to them, and you should identify where you can also assist. And you also belong to that union anyway, automatically. They are also ready to come and set up a Diaspora Investment and Development Fund. And with that, we might be talking of building an African highway from Cape to Cairo and Mombasa to Dakar, crisscrossing somewhere in the Central African Republic. These are things which we have been working on for some time now with the USAID. Unfortunately, the 100-year plan, which included 36 deep sea ports and all that, some of them being done by the various countries, like IJAW, by Bayelsa and Tuambras. The port there is another natural port. It's already a port. The oil is an oil port. And also, the NPA or the Ministry of Transport earns so much for every barrel of oil that is sent out, although they don't even have a signal man there. So they just have this money being paid on some escrow account. So we're trying to see that they come and set up a commercial port there. And but a lot of things which you can identify yourself, and will open new vistas for you to go and invest also in other parts of Africa, whether it's Gabon or Cameroon or the East African group. I know a lot of Nigerians are over everywhere. I mean, in South Africa, you know the number of our DIN brothers and people who are there. And so we have Nigerians all over Africa. But this is also a new platform I would like to open up to you. And I have some of my visitors who are based here, and we'll be introducing them to you during this program. There's Ian Campbell. There's also Johanna Myers. Well, the senior advisor to the African Diaspora Union, Disha Johnson, and representative of the Caribbeans. But here in Dejdup, they're here and will be happy to interact with us while we are on this platform. So, well done, all of you who have come from far and near, those all the way from Australia. It's not easy, it's way, way down below. They made it here. Those from Europe and the British group, and of course the American. And we had a wonderful reception since we arrived. And the organizers also, full marks to you all. I'm happy that we were able to convince our governor to be here, and I'm sure this evening we're going to hear him speak for the horse's mouth himself. So thank you again for all the presentations, my dear wife, my goodness. I mean, you know, I still remember a few years back, my one-time secretary to government, or SMG, you know, SMG, Daniel Kallio, you remember him? Yes. Daniel Kallio was being told by General Hassan, he said, you see, this young man is His Excellency. If everything goes right, he gets all the accolades and the praises. And you are the SMG. Well, we're the military governor. He was the SMG. He said that you are the senior military governor. So if anything goes wrong, fire is God for you. But Daniel Kallio, late after we left office, came visiting us when we were in the Marine base, and there was people like this, or a Calvin. The best man for the job is a woman. That was the signboard she had on her table. She was president of the student uniport, around the 90s, I think, 1991. And by 94, she came and took over and became our group managing director. And since then, she's had stopped. She's, well, you taste and see. So she's here, and I'm happy that we're all going able to make it here. And I would like to say to you all again, Onoa, Do, Obama, Aloha, Mbana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Cannot say thank you enough. And thank you to all of you that have been part of this event whilst we get ready for the evening event. I want to thank you enormously for all your contributions, for being a part of it. We hope that some of your presentations will not go in vain, because IDC is not an association, it's an organization, and we're a project-based organization. So we will take into consideration all of the things that are presented today. We will go away and get back to majority of you who has presented. What we can do, we'll do. What we probably want from you, would ask you, because we know that we need each other for us to make a difference to humanity. Thank you so much for all your time. Thank you, and we hope to see you at 7 o'clock this evening. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.